Well, it was a historic meeting at the United Nations today. The United States and 171 nations from around the globe signing the Paris Climate Agreement here in New York City. The accord seeks to fulfill the United Nations goal of cutting emissions and keeping global warming to 2 degrees Celsius. Now, some estimates suggest the cost of this plan will certainly be daunting. Look at this on your screen, $12.1 trillion over 25 years. The tab, of course, to be picked up by taxpayers around the world. Joining us now, a man who ran a gigantic player in the energy sector and worked hard to get NRG into solar investments, former NRG CEO David Crane in a Fox Business exclusive. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Liz.
You've seen this accord, have you not?
Yes, I was in Paris.
And would you sign it if it were in front of you and you ran a nation today?
Well, yes, actually, I would. It's an extraordinary consensus. You said 171 countries signing. I thought 195 signed on in Paris, so I don't know where the other 24 are. But to me, it's a sign of a new global environmental morality, and so I would absolutely sign it. And glad to see Secretary Kerry signing it with a small child on his lap, which is probably...
Yeah, that was his granddaughter.
His granddaughter, because that's who you're doing it for.
Yeah, well, exactly. Now, the nations that weren't there that you're talking about, they have a year to do so. So some of them couldn't catch the flight, or there wasn't an aisle seat, and they said, forget it, I'm out. But looking at this cost, because that's what a lot of people are talking about, it is rather onerous. And some people would look at it and say, I just don't see the payoff. 2 degrees Celsius. China's the biggest carbon offender. And they say simply, we'll reach a plateau of emissions around 2030. Plateau? Thanks a lot. I mean, how is China even adding to the positivity of this?
Well, 2 things. First of all, I would tell you that I couldn't see where that number came from, but I don't think it's worth the paper it's printed on, because extrapolations about how much...
You mean the cost?
The cost. Because everything's based on linear extrapolation. We're talking about what we're going to achieve over 34 years. I think the important thing about Paris is it sets us all on a goal, and there'll be disruptive changes. Back in 1990, we were in the same place on SOx and NOx, and the Bush administration, first Bush, passed the Clean Air Act, and we complied quicker and cheaper than anyone said at the time, substantially quicker and substantially cheaper. So,
it's funny that you bring that up, because Elon Musk of Tesla is always saying he owes George Bush a big thank you, because it was George Bush's energy and clean air plan. People always think this is a Democrat-pushed issue. It is not. No,
I mean, Secretary George Shultz once almost chewed my arm off because I suggested that Republicans were anti-environment. But, from Teddy Roosevelt through EPA being founded by Richard Nixon to the Bush 41 with the Clean Air Act amendments, actually most major government advances in this area have been under Republican presidents.
What bothers a lot of people, though, is again, that the U.S. taxpayers will be floating much of what is put into this accord. India, for example, their effort to this is it'll increase solar generation, and then you've got Russia not even promising to do anything, and yet we're going to be paying out billions for this. Is that fair?
Well, it remains to be seen where the billions were paying out. A lot of people say, well, Germany got into renewables too early. But in fact, the fact that Germany created a market is the reason why solar panels are now 90% cheaper than they were 6 years ago. So everyone who's following this path is actually going to get to do things cheaper. And also 5 years ago, people were saying China will never do anything. But now China's the largest investor in the world in wind and solar, and as you said, admittedly, they have a long way to come because they've built a lot of coal-fired power plants.
They don't want people seeing that video of them wearing face masks during the Olympics. It's appalling how dirty the air is there.
It is shocking.
Before we go, what shocked a lot of people who think you're a terrific executive is that you resigned from NRG in December because the implementations of putting into that solar farm in California, which is gigantic, they weren't paying off fast enough for perhaps the board or shareholders, and yet now, in March, there was a report that that very solar farm in California is on track to make all the money and more and do very, very well. The industry logic might not have squared with shareholder logic, and you became a victim of that. Does that bother you?
Well, thanks for saying I resigned. I actually was fired, but it's a polite.
I thought you resigned. I was making it easier for you.
I know, but I tell it like it is. But the Ivanpah project, $2.3 billion. It's supported by the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer, through a federal loan guarantee, the American taxpayer will be fully paid back. It's a fantastic engineering achievement, and I'm as pleased as I possibly could be that it's operating at full. As it's supposed to.
Well, you know what they say about legacy. It's planting seeds in a garden you might never see.
It seems that way.
You planted the seeds.
Yes.
And by the way, you're joining Pegasus as a private equity outfit, right?
Yes, exactly.
Congratulations.
They invest in sustainability, which is where the future is. So.
David Crane, thank you so much. Please come back again.
I will. Thank you.